U.S. President Donald Trump says he's, quote, not trolling Canada about becoming an American state. That was part of Trump's answer in a Time magazine interview reflecting on his first 100 days. It's only been 100 days. Trump has falsely claimed the U.S. spends billions of dollars to support Canada, saying Canada wouldn't face tariffs if it were, in fact, the 51st state. Meanwhile, 12 actual states are now suing Trump over this tariff war, arguing the basis for it is unlawful. The lawsuit reads, for whatever reason he finds convenient to declare an emergency, the president has upended the constitutional order and brought chaos to the American economy. Attorney General Dan Rayfield is leading this lawsuit, and he joins me now. Dan Rayfield, it's good to meet you. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
The White House has called this legal action a witch hunt by Democrats, which is an interesting choice of words. Why was it important for you to bring this case forward?
Well, first of all, when you call something a witch hunt, you're already on the defensive because you know what you're doing is not constitutional. It was incredibly important for the state of Oregon and, frankly, all the states that had joined because this is impacting human beings in our communities. Here in Oregon, we always think about tariffs as being something distant, but it impacts us in community. And there's an economist in Oregon who has done the back of the napkin estimates, and it shows that $3,800 will be the increase for average households for everyday goods. And I don't know very many families that can afford that. And that's why it was critical. We have the nurseries industry here in Oregon where people in Canada are pulling our products off the shelves. We're talking relationships for more than 40 years. It's a big deal down here.
Yeah, I can tell you, like, my shopping habits have changed. People I know, their shopping habits have changed. That they take pride in filling a grocery cart with nothing from the United States, not because they don't like Americans, but because of what's happening here. And the president is justifying all of this, saying that Canada in some way represents an unusual and extraordinary threat, something our government says is a pretext. How do you make the argument that that is in fact the case in this court?
You know, I've lived my entire life having nothing but amazing and fond feelings for Canada and its people and the relationships that we share, the business relationships that we share, the personal friendships that we have. And so this to me is just an affront on how we've operated, for decades upon decades as they're going through it and creating a needless trade war that none of us need, right? We should be focused on the issues in our communities, not some spurious trade battle between two, what I would say, ordinarily incredibly friendly and nations.
Mm-hmm. So where does this lawsuit eventually go, sir? I mean, could this end up at the U.S. Supreme Court? Is that the path where this could go? Because, you know, the concerns about the structure and nature of the makeup of that court, I mean, where does this ultimately land?
It could easily go up to the Supreme Court. We're starting off in the U.S. Court of International Trade, and then that could get appealed from there. And the genesis of the claims truly are that Congress in the United States has the power to levy tariffs, and they gave the power to the president under some defined laws under what we call Title 19, and they're very specific with safeguards to protect our economy. The president didn't want to put those tariffs under the traditional laws, and so he's misusing an emergency power to effectuate these tariffs, frankly, worldwide. And so as we are successful at the lower levels, I anticipate this to elevate up. But what's unique, and you mentioned this, right? You see the Supreme Court has shifted, but you got to remember that Republicans were the ones back in the 90s, President Ronald Reagan, talking about the importance of having a free economy, right? And avoiding these issues like we have today. So it's very strange that you have a Republican president making these claims and really going against the antithesis of what Republicans stood for in the 90s.
Well, he's not just going against what is sort of more traditional Republican orthodoxy. He's sort of overriding the authority of a Republican-controlled Congress. And they simply, like, you wouldn't have to take this legal action if Congress took back its constitutional authority, right? There's a political solution here if Congress stood up for what is Congress's job, and they don't seem prepared to do that.
Yeah, I think that's the challenging thing in politics today, and I don't care what country you are. We really hold a lot of fealty to the party that we're in, and I think that is counter to good policy. Right? Republicans in Congress right now should be standing up, saying this is not good for our communities, this is not good for our nations, this is not good for international relationships that we need in this world. And they're unwilling to do that right now. The Republicans are. You do have some Democratic members of Congress that are trying to curb the president's authority under the emergency powers, specifically my senator, Senator Ron Wyden. And so I think there is hope there. It remains to be seen whether the votes will be in Congress to do anything about it. And that's why we have the lawsuit.
So on that lawsuit, I remember last month, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, she was asked about why, fentanyl being one of the root explanations for these tariffs. She was asked why Canada was omitted in an intelligence community annual threat assessment as a significant threat to the United States. And her argument was that the focus was on the most extreme threats. That feels like an argument a lawyer will bring into court with them. I mean, is this part of the case you're going to make in this challenge?
Yeah, it absolutely will be. And maybe the only extreme threat is that you all have universal health care. I don't know what the real threat is in Canada right now. But it seems absolutely absurd and silly to me. And the lawsuit really addresses that.
I just wonder, sir, what are your thoughts on just what's happening with the relationship between the two countries? I mean, we're in the final hours and days of a national election here, and the president's comments about sovereignty and the tariffs has completely upended the political dynamic here in the country. And a lot of Canadians want to look more to Europe, more to Asia, and less to the United States. And long-standing, you talked about the tariff impact in your state, like long-standing business integration, cultural integration, academic cooperation. These things are all on the line in this moment. I mean, what are your concerns there beyond just whether the president has overstepped his tariff authority?
The first thing that I think we all experience in all of our countries, right, is that you have one party or you have a minority within a party that may feel one way, but that is not universal across the United States. Right now, you have significant opposition to what the president is doing, whether it's from independents, Republicans, and Democrats. And I think we as a nation know we're stronger together internally, but we're also stronger together with the relationships that we have with Canada, with Mexico, with the world. And right now, you have a minority of folks that are trying, to manipulate emergency powers and sow division. But there is a lot of us here in this country that really believe we're stronger.
Just one last question, sir. I mean, how quickly do you expect to get an answer on this, to get a full resolution on this? I mean, the court you're going to is one I am not familiar with. I do not know how fast something like this moves. When do you think you might know?
So we have 12 states that have joined this lawsuit. And the first step is to get a preliminary injunction, right? To be able to go in front of that court and say, you need to stop what's going on right now. And that takes time as we build that case. And we'll eventually file a motion for creating a preliminary injunction. The other thing that I think is important to note is that you have other lawsuits filed by even conservative organizations challenging Trump's lawsuits. And they filed them in other courts across the country. We filed in the International Trade Court. We think that that's the best place where we're getting in front of experienced judges who know the law so that we can get a fair shake when we file our preliminary injunction. So I do expect this process to roll out over the next couple of months.
Dan Rayfield, Attorney General of Oregon. It was good to meet you, sir. Thank you for your time today.
Very nice to meet you as well.